Good morning, Husker fans. Welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette, and we're back after a little bit of a break during the bye week. Was out of town, so we had some other things going on, but we're back talking Huskers here on Monday. We got Penn State this week, the Nebraska basketball team, fresh off a huge win over Oklahoma. We're going to talk about all that, some happenings on the recruiting trail. So before we get into it, please do us a huge favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get into the comment section. And Danny, how are you doing on this Monday morning following a bye week for Nebraska? Kind of a non-eventful bye week for the Huskers.
I know. I was just saying off air. It's been so long since we've been together, and I feel like, it's almost 2 seasons. It's been so long, but honestly, Chris, I'm freezing. Winter's coming here, and I don't like it. And as much as things are freezing here, I mean, they're heating up in Lincoln in a lot of good ways. A lot of times we're used to controversial news or some sort of social media thing, and it sends Husker Nation into a tailspin, but so far the ship has been steadied and a lot of exciting things coming up.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things and a big game with Penn State, Matt Rule's alma mater. It was a lot of talk about him potentially being a head coaching candidate there. He, signed his extension a few weeks ago, and that talk has sort of died down, but somewhat of an important game, I would say, for both teams. Penn State did beat Michigan State convincingly last Saturday. I think it was 28-10. I could be wrong on the score, but they did win
You're right.
convincingly. And so now you look at their schedule, they've got Nebraska at home and Rutgers on the road, and they're 4-6. So I know they haven't had a great season, but they still have a chance to reach a postseason game. And I'm sure it surely seemed like that was a motivating factor for them. We have Nebraska trying to, get to 9 wins, trying to, put an exclamation point on their season. And it's going to be the second start for TJ Lateef. He balled out against UCLA. 13-15, whatever it was. I mean, he was nearly perfect. Going to be a much different challenge this week against Jim Knowles and Penn State. Also, they've got Iowa next Friday. A night game in Happy Valley is never easy. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge for the Huskers, but it's going to be really interesting, I think, to see how TJ Lateef responds. And, if you're Nebraska, you're kind of going into this playing with house money. You've got 7 wins already. You're 7-3. So, you win this game, great. If you lose it, it's not really going to derail anything from a program perspective, but I think it would be another great opportunity for TJ Lateef to kind of lay claim to this quarterback job and for this team to just go on the road and get another big win. I mean, it's hard to win games on the road in the Big Ten. They've done it, twice this year, beating Maryland on the road and, beating UCLA on the road. So if they could go on the road and beat Penn State, I think that would be a heck of an accomplishment for this program.
And I know when the schedule makers were making this at the beginning of the season, they definitely penciled in Husker starting quarterback TJ Lateef and interim head coach Jim Knowles as the primary focus for this game. But no, it's amazing what can change over the course of a couple months. And I'm excited for this one because Jim Knowles is a great defensive mind, and so he can draw up play calls with the best of them, and then you have the freshman quarterback in Lateef, who absolutely balled out, like you said, against UCLA, and now they have another week of practice and another chance to run the offense with him during practice. And I think it's going to be a really fun chess match. There's not going to be, yes, the overall game is the bigger picture, but there's going to be a lot of interesting subplots throughout it.
Terry Smith is actually the interim head coach for Penn State, but Knowles is the defensive coordinator. So yeah, it'll be an interesting matchup. I mean, this is a defense that's played well for Penn State. I mean, even when they struggled this year, you look back at even the Oregon game and they didn't get a ton of points against Penn State. And last week they really ran the football well. So that's going to be, you look at what Nebraska struggled with this year. Well, it's been stopping the run. So, Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, I think Allen had like 148 rushing yards. So that's going to be their plan. Ethan Grunkmeyer's a true freshman quarterback or redshirt freshman. I'm not exactly sure. I know he's a freshman. So pretty similar quarterback situation I would see between the two teams. Probably both going to want to run the football, and it's going to come down to who plays better in the trenches. And you look at the line for this game, and obviously the experts think it's going to be Penn State. They are an 8.5-point favorite. Some places have them as big as a 10-point favorite, which it seems a little, I don't know, that seems a little too big of a spread to me. I don't know. I mean, I get there at home. I wasn't surprised that they were a favorite, but that big of a favorite did catch me with a little bit of sticker shock. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
yeah, no, I think that sounds reasonable given that they're on the road, and Nebraska's on the road, and obviously the name gets you a little bit more of a favorable opinion in the eyes of some. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be important for Nebraska to just come out and play their game. And also, shame on you, Chris, for not properly identifying betting odds earlier this week. And I saw some fans get on you about that, and that's so funny.
Yeah. Oh well.
It was
Yeah.
like, damn, Chris, if you controlled betting odds, then Nebraska would be in a much better place. If you controlled the program, then Nebraska would be undefeated right now. But anyway, I think this is going to be interesting. And one of the things that I'm looking at in this matchup, kind of previewing it a little bit, is that run defense of Nebraska against the running backs of Penn State, because Katrin Allen, he is a really good running back. There have been times this season where he hasn't played to his full potential, but he did on Saturday against Michigan State, and that's something that I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, 240 rushing yards total for Penn State against the Spartans. So that's definitely going to be, something to watch for this Nebraska team. Allen, 25 carries, 181 yards. Had a better day than I thought. 2 touchdowns, 42-yard rush on that one. And then Singleton, 15 carries for 56 yards. So those two guys carried it 40 times. And I would expect them to do the same thing. Grunkmeyer threw it 13 times. And that's probably what you want to do with the freshman quarterback. TJ Lateef threw it 15 times against UCLA. So I think this is going to be a competition of who can get their quarterback to throw the ball the least, honestly. We'll see what happens with Lateef and how much like RPOs and stuff they do. But I think a lot of this is going to be, what can Emmett Johnson do? And he's, getting the Heisman Trophy buzz. I mean, Nebraska's really, really trying to push the Heisman Trophy stuff with Emmett Johnson this week. And I don't think he has a path to the Heisman Trophy. I really don't see him being able to do it, because like you look at, there's no, what's his Heisman moment going to be? The UCLA game. I mean, maybe if he has like 200 yards against Iowa, that could possibly get him there, but that's not like a Heisman Trophy moment. And this just isn't, it's just not a Heisman Trophy season for Nebraska. But I do think if he could get close to, 2,000 total yards, which he would need like, well over 200 yards. And I think he's got 1,400 right now. So, I mean, he would need, well over 500. It's probably not going to get that, but if he can get about 200 total yards in the next 2 games, get up to around 1,800, get to close to 1,500 rushing yards, I think he's got a chance to get invited to New York, but I don't see a clear path for him winning the Heisman.
And even him getting invited to New York would be an achievement in my eyes. So if he could just get invited, that would be huge for the program. And, when you look at, I get that there's some who think he should automatically be a Heisman Trophy winner or top 2, but like you said, there have been times when he's played really well, but I haven't really seen a Heisman moment this year. I'm thinking maybe the Maryland game, but other than that, a lot of his best games came against weaker competition, so that doesn't work in his favor as well. So I'll be interested to see if he does get the invite to New York. And I was telling you off air, I remember around here when Boston College running back Andre Williams got the invite to New York in 2013 for his season, and he didn't win, but that sparked a lot of interest in running backs for the program, and it kind of put BC kind of back in national relevance for a little bit. Obviously, they suck now, but back then they were able to get some good players. So even getting an invite to New York would do well for EJ Barthel and company, I think, in terms of recruiting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with Emmett Johnson, and if they can convince him to come back. But yeah, it'd be fun to see what he could do if he could get to New York. He's got you look at the other leading rushers. Ahmad Hardy from Missouri has 1,346. Keyone Lacey, we know him. He has got 1,136 yards. He's second in all of college football. So yeah, that kind of stings. Jeremiah Love is right behind him in third, and then Emmett Johnson, 1,131 yards. So he's 5 yards behind Lacey for second. This is among Power 4 rushers, and then so he's about 200 yards behind Hardy from Ole Miss. So I mean, I really think he's got to get to 1,500 yards and try to try to get to 500 receiving, try to get to that 2,000-yard mark. Maybe he can do it with a bowl game. I still think it would be a significant achievement. But either way, and I guess it shouldn't be said that he still has to try to a chance to be a first-team All-American. He's competing kind of with those 4 guys, with that. And so that probably isn't locked down either. I mean, we got Ole Miss and Notre Dame, 2 teams that are going to be probably in the playoff, and guys that have rushed for more yards than Emmett. So even just trying to win the Doak Walker Award as the running back of the year in college football.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a chance to do that. It's not guaranteed though, and so he's going to have to put together, a few really nice weeks. But I believe Matt Rule said that he would be the first-team All-American since Levante David. So, I mean, that's what, 2012, 2000. I mean, it's been a long time since
Levante David was okay. Yeah, he was all right.
Yeah, so, I mean, that would be a good step. And, it's Nebraska's been needed to have – we talk about this all the time. Who's going to be first-team All-Big Ten on this team, going into the season. So it would be nice to have Emmett Johnson do that. And then Nebraska needs to do every single thing within its power to get him back. I understand, what Matt Rule said, and I get maybe going to the NFL is, good for his future. That's fine. And he's clear to make that choice. And he might make that choice, but it's up to Nebraska to make that choice as difficult as possible. And they should offer him as much money as anybody on this roster, because that's how important he is. There isn't anybody on this team this season who's more important than Emmett Johnson. And I think we've seen that over the past few weeks. I mean, take Dylan Raiola away, and that hurts, but if you don't have Emmett Johnson, this team would not have a chance. And most games where he doesn't run the ball, they haven't had a chance. So, yeah, I think, if this team wants to really have a chance next year at making the playoffs with that schedule, I would do everything possible to get that man back in the Big Red.
I would love to have him back, but I also kind of want him to go. I mean, with next year's schedule and things like that, and with the way his stock is now, I would be happy to have him back, but I really think he should go to the NFL.
I mean, he probably should, but I would offer him as much money as possible.
Oh yeah, no, so, I definitely wouldn't leave any stone unturned. But I was saying in general, I feel like he should go, because who the heck knows how next year is going to go?
Yeah, and I think it depends how I mean, if he's. It just depends how his stock goes. It's very, because I mean, if he's going to be a 4th-round pick, then maybe it would be worth him coming back for another year to get paid, multi-million dollars from Nebraska to be their, star running back. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you look at the schedule next year, and it's going to be an absolute beast. So they need to load this roster up as much as possible, because getting 9 wins next year, getting 8 wins next year is not going to be an easy task. So anyway, let's switch to some recruiting stuff. There was a decommitment on Sunday from Leon Noyle, the 3-star from the New Orleans area. He visited Mississippi State last weekend, so that seems to be where that one is headed. And yeah, the class, continues to shrink down a little bit. The 2026 class, not that he's one of the big, one of the big names. And I guess another good positive piece of news is that Danny Odom shut down his recruitment, so he will be going to Nebraska. But Leon Noyle ranked 924th overall. I don't know, probably not too much heartburn on this one, but it does take the class down to 10 commitments now, I think. So they still trying to get some work done, but 2026 class continues to disappoint, I would say.
I don't care. I've already made my piece that the 2026 class is not going to be big, and honestly, Leon Noyle, I mean, if we lost Danny Odom, then I'd actually start to care about the 2026 class, or even Claude Mpuma. But honestly, the 2026 class is small. We have a bunch of offensive linemen that are on the roster that are even in the 2026 class. I mean, so I definitely wish him the best. I'm not too worried. We are still trying to get a couple kids to flip in the 2026 class. Hendrix Quaid, the wide receiver who was a UConn commit, is set to visit at the end of the month for the Iowa game. So they are trying to make moves there, but I've definitely made peace with the fact that the 2026 class isn't going to be big. And given how the 2027 class is shaping out, I'm perfectly okay with that.
I've accepted. I'm still not okay with it. There's still going to be ramifications from recruiting so poorly in 2026. You just can't have a class this bad and this small. I get what you're saying, and I get all the points you're making, but they're still going to have to make up for this, whether it's in the transfer portal or whatever. It's going to affect their roster moving forward, and that's why I think you've tried to see them. I mean, they've tried to add guys, and they just cannot get anything done in this class.
Well, when you look what they and I guess it's the other thing too. When you look what they were able to do in the transfer portal this year, that gives me hope that they can definitely add more in the 2026 class that way. So I'm okay with that part of it too.
I mean, like I said, I think the transfer portal is going to be. I think you're going to see less player impact. Now, maybe not this year, but I don't think the transfer portal is going to be like, we can always rely on the transfer portal because now everybody's paying these guys. So I just don't see. And I know Nebraska hit on a lot of guys last year, but I mean, realistically, are you going to hit on every? I mean, I think that was a pretty high hit rate. I don't think you're going to hit like that every single year. So I'm just saying, like, I do think that there's going to be, I think we're going to look a couple years down the road and be like, yeah, that 2026 class did hurt for, I mean, defensive. You don't have a single defensive lineman. That's inexcusable. I'm sorry that there's no excuse for that. I don't care about Terry Braden. Like, this is Nebraska. I mean, there's no excuse to not have any defensive line recruits in this class. And I know they're trying to get a couple of JUCOs and whatever, but they've just got to do a better job. I know they're starting to do that in 2027, but really, I do think down the road they're going to look back and be like, man, this 2026 class is kind of hindering the roster development of this program. And it's just, I just don't think you can have a throwaway recruiting class. Like, to me, high school recruiting is way more important than the transfer portal. Like, in terms of like the teams that actually are competing for championships, like they have success in high school recruiting. You can supplement through the portal, but it's very hard to try to build, a playoff championship caliber roster, without having success in high school recruiting. So I've been saying it, and I think Nebraska does know that, and hopefully 2027 will help, fix that. But even so, it's still hard to throw away an entire class, and I feel like that's kind of what they did here, outside of 2 or 3 players.
I definitely get where you're coming from. I do. I mean, I'm not too worried about it, given how things are changing and given how this class shapes out. But I'm happy with the guys that we do have, and they definitely tried to add some more players in the 2026 class, but I don't think the ramifications are going to be as big as, say, if we missed out for, 2023 or something like that. And I honestly think the strength of the 2023 class gives us a little bit of wiggle room for a poor class like 2026.
They are trying to add some JUCO players to it. So there's a few visitors. There's a edge player that's visiting, and you just all mentioned the receiver. So they're trying to add a couple of guys. And I don't know about that. I get it. Like, and the one JUCO kid is a 3-star. I'm trying to find his name. I just had it here. I think it's like Jack Schaefer.
Yep.
Anyways, I mean, I like him, and he's been offered by Kentucky and Arkansas. But my thing too is like, as much as I am criticizing the 2026 class, I don't think you want to just offer scholarships or spots to kids that don't deserve it. I'm not saying that this kid doesn't, but I'm saying, like, I don't think it's worthwhile to just be like, oh, I mean, and I think that's part of where they're at. Like, it's almost to the point, it's bad. It is what it is. Like, maybe just save those spots for the future. Like, I just don't know if, I understand they're trying to add to those positions, and there's a JUCO D line that I think that's interesting. He was like one of the top D linemen, but he's not visiting. It doesn't sound like. So I don't know how realistic it is, but it would be nice to add to the class if they really think the kid can legitimately help. But I just don't want them to add commits, if you know what I mean.
No, I mean, I think they're done. I think they're trying to add what they can, but I think the base of the class is done, in my opinion, with the way, the way they've kind of handled this class, like you said. And I agree to a certain extent. I just think they're trying to put the finishing touches on it.
So it will be interesting to see what happens.
Now, I got to ask you this. I don't know if you've heard anything more about this. I've kind of taken the bye week a little bit literally, but Miles Smith, the 2027 defensive lineman, and I know the Nebraska was after 2 defensive linemen in the 2027 class. Have you heard more about Miles Smith? I heard that they were front runners for Smith, and he would be a really good defensive lineman. But have you heard anything more on that front, or is it just basic interest for now?
No, I haven't heard anything else. I mean, I know they've been trending up with a couple guys. I know him. Ahmad Hudson, the other guy, I know they've been in a pretty strong position, but nothing else that I've seen. So yeah, hopefully they can keep moving things in the right direction. But yeah, I think they're in a good spot with some defensive linemen. They now just need to close. So yeah, that's kind of where that stands. Let's talk some basketball. The Huskers were in the Sanford Pentagon this weekend, and turned out, in Sioux Falls was another great performance. Just another great event, I guess, at
Great
in
venue, yeah.
Nebraska. Yeah, great venue. The women found a way to win on Sunday, and but really the men came through with a big performance. They were down by 16 points at one point to Oklahoma. And I do want to caution: this isn't like a quad one win. You have to be a top 50 in the NET rankings on the road. So Oklahoma's like 64th in the Ken Palm. It could turn into a quad one win down the road, but not currently. But yeah, I mean, what are your takeaways from this one? Price Sanford, 28 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 3-pointers, 4 9. Rink Mass, I thought, was incredible again. 26 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 7. I love that 3-pointer that he drilled in the second half, and he kind of did that. That was just a perfect moment. That was a great. That to me, I was like, oh, we're winning this game once he made that shot. I thought it was really interesting too. How I thought we really got an insight into the rotation and the players that Fred Hoiberg really trusts, because he basically played 8 guys in this game. Jared Garcia played 3 minutes, but after that it was Cale Jacobson played 23 minutes off the bench. Connor Sejan played 11, and Braden Frager played 8. That was it. Everybody else, the starters, played most of the minutes, and I think that's where it's going to be. Ugi is obviously hurt. The big guy, Jurasevich, from Central Michigan, and so I don't know if we're going to see him at all this year.
Any timetable on his return? Have you heard anything? Because I personally haven't yet. But
no, I haven't, and they haven't really talked much about his injury.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he'll come back at some point this season, but it's pretty clear that these guys are, especially Berke and Rank Mass, they're going to have to play a lot of minutes. Price, but so far it's working. I'm really pleased with Jamarcus Lawrence. I think one thing that maybe hasn't been talked about enough, this team only turned the ball over 5 times in this game. So I thought that was a massive. I mean, I know the defense wasn't perfect. I don't think this is going to be a great defensive team. But man, if you can turn the ball over 5 times and shoot 56% from 3, you're going to win every single game you play. I don't care how many points you give up. You're just going to win those games. So, anyways, I'll hand the floor to you. What were your thoughts on this one, and one of our first real kind of tests for Nebraska basketball this season?
Well, one of my first thoughts was I need a full mast shirt. I'm glad the guy got kicked out because I didn't even know that shirt existed, and they gave him the floor, and he was full mast. So I need one of those shirts. But anyway, one of my first impressions, and it's not necessarily a positive one, but like you mentioned about some of the deficiencies of the team for a second there, rebounding is not going to be a strength of this team either, I don't think. So they are going to have to convert on their offensive opportunities. But I will say this team has a lot of grit for a team built largely on transfer portal players. I mean, Fred's teams always seem to be gritty and find a way. And I'll tell you what, Price Sanford was worth every single penny that Nebraska gave him. And hell, if we need to recruit defensive linemen, maybe have Fred do some transfer portal work, because you talk about hits. He's been hitting on several of the players that he's brought in, and I really like this group. When you look at some of these other Husker teams, the 3-point scoring was limited to for example, Casey Tominaga 2 years ago. There was always one 3-point shooter, and then a couple that were good here and there, and that was it. This team, Price Sanford, Connor Sejan, they have multiple ways that they can attack you from beyond the arc, and that's going to be crucial, especially in Big Ten play. But I tell you, I was watching the game and they were down. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be another rough day. And they fought hard and they found their way back, and Price was cooking. And I know, like you said, it's probably not a quad one win, could turn into one, but I thought this was a big statement for a team that hasn't always had success winning on the road. So I thought their determination and resiliency, it sounds cliche, but it really showed up in this game. And I was very happy for the program, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, that Oklahoma team is no slouch either. Their backcourt is really good, so good win overall.
Yeah, definitely a team I think you could see making the tournament in Oklahoma, and hopefully it can be a quad one win for Nebraska. But either way, a solid win away from home. Porter Moser, I think, would disagree that it was a road game for the Huskers. He would say it's a road game for the Sooners. But either way, Nebraska now up to 41st in the Ken Palm rankings. You look at their adjusted offense, 24th in college basketball. So basically scoring almost 1.2 points per possession. Now giving up, 1.01 points per possession, which isn't, they're 85th in adjusted, defensive efficiency, but that's kind of going to be, I think, where they are.
Last year, what a Fred Hoiberg team is, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and last year they were a little bit different, and their defense was better, and they actually, for part of the season, they had a top 50 defense, so they were kind of in that mix as a team that could do something in the tournament, and that's probably because they had guys like Juwan Gary. People don't give Sam Hoiberg enough credit. They still want to act like he's just a nepo baby, like you kind of have quashed, and he's not. He plays really. He's one of the better defensive guards in the Big Ten. I realize he's not. Probably not all Big Ten, and he's got some limitations, he obviously, but he plays hard, he shoots well. He had 18 points the other night, so I feel like, and he's definitely earned his position in the lineup. And you look at both guards. I thought Jamarcus Lawrence had 3 3-pointers. He's done a very good job of taking care of the ball. I think he's shooting, and that was the other thing. You look at last year, they struggled at times to shoot the three, and you could just see it kind of bog down the offense. And on Saturday night, it was clear that Oklahoma, they really had to kind of abdicate protecting the rim because everybody could shoot. And it was like, that's why you saw some of those buckets from Price where, they kind of went to almost like a 5-out, and then he was just going to the hoop, and there was nobody there because it was like, okay, well, are you going to leave Rink Mass out there? Because that dude will drain a 3 in your face. So it's kind of, it really is interesting how they can spread the floor and do a lot of things. And you get Rink. My goodness, this guy, there might not be a better pick and pop player in the country, honestly. Like this guy with the ball in his hands, he can roll to the bat. When you put him in a ball screen with somebody who can shoot, and it's game over, because what are you going to do? Are you going to go under the screen, give that shooter a chance to shoot? Because Rank, he can pop, he can go to the bucket, he can finish, he can make plays for people. Like the more I watch this guy play, the more he looks like maybe not a first-round pick, but definitely a guy that should be selected in the NBA draft this year. And that's a pretty exciting spot for Nebraska to be in. We don't get many of those guys.
And you made a really good point. You actually made a couple of really good points. One on Jamarcus Lawrence. One of the things that he kind of struggled with when he was first here 2 years ago was the turnovers at times. And now it seems like he's really refined that part of his game. And I think his time at Rhode Island definitely helped him with that. And, I believe this is one of the best pick and pop teams in the country. And you don't really see that in basketball a ton anymore. But Nebraska does it really, really well. And then the other point that I actually really wanted to get to, too, that you made was that Price is not just a standstill, knockdown three-point shooter. If he doesn't like what he sees from beyond the arc, he can drive to the basket, and he finishes really well. So, that kind of duality and versatility to his game is something that is something, coming in. I thought he was just, a really good three-point shooter, but the inside game and the driving to the basket has been great to see as well.
Yeah, and it's actually, he just didn't get as many chances, but 6'6" kid, and you look at a guy that can play small ball 4, he can be the 3. But last year at Iowa, he shot 65% on his 2-point attempts, 48 to 73. This year he's 12 to 16, 75%. That's just, that's pretty incredible stuff when you're shooting 41% from the 3-point line. And then, you look at the free throw percentage, and he's shooting 1,000%. So Price Sanford this year is shooting 1,000% perfect from the free throw line. His overall field goal percentage is 53%, and his 3-point percentage is, so he literally right now, you talk about 50, 40, 90, he's doing it. He's 50, 40, 1,000. So I don't know. You could not ask for more from Price Sanford. And then you look at, Rink Mass has been incredible too. So they got some really nice pieces there. I know fans don't want to hear it. I got some pushback from some but because I reposted what Porter Moser and John Rothstein said. But Porter Moser's like, I expect to see this team in March. Now, hopefully we're not talking about, the crown, the college basketball crown in March. Hopefully we're talking about the NCAA.
I'm going to be honest, it was hard to get up for the crown. And to your credit, you tried to get me up for the crown and you tried to make me excited, but I just couldn't do it. And who cares about what the fans want to hear? They always want to complain about something. So, but no, you tried to get me up for the crown. And for those who weren't watching us at this time last year, Chris was giving me stats and making me excited, showing me the bracket. So he did try, but I just couldn't get into it. Guys. But hopefully, although looking back on it now, you talk about their win streak dating back to last year. I think the crown definitely gave them some sort of momentum. And so I think in the end it was a positive tournament, but I just want some March Madness games.
I know, yeah, it would be this team. This is a team that should be playing in March, and yeah, but the crowd I think did give them some positive momentum, and I think 8 in a row now. So we got the longest win streak in college basketball, which is
And
pretty
and
fun.
that is something. And I know people say, "Oh, they played, Pee Wee U and whatever," but that
Yeah.
does definitely mean something.
So hopefully we can the Huskers can keep it rolling, and the volleyball team finally dropped a set this weekend. How dare they? How dare you guys? It's unbelievable. But it was funny that UCLA. I love these teams that every match we go to, that Nebraska goes to, they set their crowd record for attendance, and then they act like it was not because of Nebraska. They're like, we set our record for attendance, and it's like, yeah, no, Nebraska set your record for attendance. But I think it's cool that these ladies, I mean, people know about this team and they get followed. I know a lot of it is Husker fans, but it's other fans too. And Harper Murray and Andy Jackson, and people know about this team, and these guys are incredible. Beat the crap out of USC. So they're now 2 victories away from clinching the Big Ten championship outright, which I'm sure that they will do without breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
I was a little bit have to say about wrestling. They did have a couple of disappointing showings.
Yeah.
They got whipped by Ohio State and Oklahoma State in the national dual tournament. They did take 4th, but Antrell Taylor, the national champion last year, lost twice. So that kind of raises a few eyebrows. But, wrestlers are not immune to having a bad day off. It does happen, and it doesn't mean that the season's going down the drain or whatever. Just one of those results that's a little bit surprising. But we'll see what happens. I still have complete confidence in Mark Manning and the guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, these guys are human, and still a really, really good program. I love the way that Mark Manning has been able to kind of guide the program, and the way that he's been able to recruit too. So, and there's a lot of good wrestling teams out there, and I hope people catch on to wrestling a little bit more. I know, and I'll ask you this because I don't remember this, but I feel like volleyball is being shown more on a national scale, a lot more ABC matches and things like that. Am I correct in thinking that, or has it always been this way? Because I've noticed it more on a national level on the TV.
No, they finally have realized that that's kind of a new market that they can tap into.
Well, great.
Yeah. So Fox, ABC, ESPN, the Big Ten Network. I mean, Big Ten volleyball is really great, but you're seeing even more. And then we had the AVCA showcase this year. So I think it's going to be exciting. I would like to see, I don't know, I don't love having the national championship game at 1:00 or whatever it is on a Sunday afternoon, during NFL season. I mean, I get it. It's like, but why can't we have it at night? Like, I just don't, at least have it the same time as the men's and women's basketball championship games. At least deserves that, in my opinion. So
yeah, 1:00 is a little bit rough, but I'll definitely be watching this year, and I think I always used to watch on Big Ten Network, but I think having them more, on ABC and the national networks has definitely helped me stay in tune with this team a little bit more, and they're definitely worth it. I've actually become a volleyball fan, so.
Yeah, they're incredible to watch. Almost they almost make it boring because you just know they're going to win every time. So it's like not a ton of suspense, but just watching some of the plays that they make. I mean, you can't watch a match, with Andy Jackson in it and not come away amazed with her hitting ability. So, I wish that volleyball would get more pub. It's starting to get more. It's starting to get more of its due. We need a American professional league that's like one league. It's starting to work towards that. And the ESPN still has the rights for so like I wish at some point that Fox would bid and take that over, because I feel like ESPN just kind of is like, meh. They're doing better, but I feel like Fox would do a better job.
ESPN shouldn't have the rights to volleyball, and they sure as shouldn't have the rights to hockey either. Those two sports need to leave ESPN immediately.
Oh, I know. They just don't do it justice. It's like, if you don't want to like support the product, that's fine. Yeah, the hockey thing drives me crazy.
Oh, does it really? Because I know you're not a big hockey guy, so I wasn't sure.
I do. The one hockey I do follow is Michigan hockey, so it does drive me crazy. Like that then they have these like Elite Eight hockey matches, and they put them in these weird arenas, and there's like nobody there, and it's just so weird to me. I feel like they could do such a better job of it, and they put on the weirdest channels and like
ESPNU, I think. Yeah,
it's like, just, I mean, come on, man. It's like, I realize you're not going to have hockey on there every single night, but when it's their time for the tournament, just like do it right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that hard.
John Bucegros is the only one that does college hockey justice on there, and I actually went to one of the regionals in Worcester, Mass, many years ago, and it's a fun time, but it's always funny to watch ESPN act like they care about hockey in March, and half the announcers pronounce the name wrong and whatever. So I wish they would stop at least pretending to even care about hockey at this point. Just go somewhere else. They need a college hockey network or something.
That they do. Why doesn't the NHL Network should like pick up more hockey? I don't know, but their college hockey does deserve to get more pub. It's really it is pretty interesting actually. Yeah. So my Wolverines are number 2 this weekend, so we'll see what happens going forward. But their problem is they're always too young for college hockey. That's the things they got all the guys that are NHL picks, but when it comes down to like winning in crunch time, you need those guys who've been on the team for 4 or 5 years. Which
same problem for BC. I mean, they could churn out first round picks left and right, but they can't. It's like the Kentucky of college hockey. Yeah. They can do first round picks left and right, but they can't often put it together as a team to win it all. So
yeah, that makes it tough though. That is the
Denver
thing.
Is really good too, though.
Hockey is interesting how you can have like NHL players on your team, which is great. But oftentimes, as you see with college basketball too, it's the teams with the older veteran experience that find a way to win. So
and it's tough to keep them. I'm glad football doesn't do that because half of our players will be gone by now. They'd be like, "Screw this, I'm going to the NFL."
That'd be really interesting. But then it'd be really interesting, like how that would work out if you had like know Dylan Raiola's like, I'm going to get drafted after my freshman year, but then I'm going to stay in college. I don't know. It'd be really interesting. It would be. I've always thought that players should get like if you don't get drafted, I always thought that maybe you should have a chance to come back.
Yeah, I agree. And I was talking about this with my friend the other day. If you don't get and I feel like in any sport, if you don't, get drafted, you should at least have the opportunity to come back because these kids get so much bad advice from agents, from even family members. If you want to come back and you want to improve your stock, even after declaring, and you don't get drafted, therefore not impacting the draft whatsoever, you should be able to come back. So
at least like one time. Let's say like one time you can correct that decision. Or
one's perfect. You don't need 3 or 4 times, but one time is good.
Anyways, we went down some weird tangents here to end the show, but that's what we do. So anyway, we did talk plenty of Huskers. So if you haven't already, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back for another episode this week to preview Penn State and have more talk on the Big Red. So as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.